Hi there, good people. You'll never guess whom we are celebrating today. We are celebrating Saint Rose Philippine Duchesne, who was a French religious sister born in Grenoble, France in 1769 and finally canonized by Saint Pope John Paul II in 1988. She was born in France, but she went to America, spent a good part of her life there, working among the indigenous people, especially among the survivors of the United States Indian removal programs. Well, let's go take a look. We'll hop out to our airport, strap on our seatbelts, make sure our first class seats are comfortable, and we'll head out to Grenoble. There it is. If you don't know where it is in France, take a look. A little bit up there in the southern part of France, but it's located in the hills near the Alps. So let's take a look at the city a little bit. Remember, they had the Olympics there way back when, probably before most of you were born. Maybe not, depending on how old you are. So there you see the mountains. Very beautiful, Grenoble, huh? And we'll take a look at whatever we can. They have a beautiful cathedral here of Notre Dame, so let's sneak a peek and I'll see if I can get inside the cathedral and show you what it looks like, because you know, as good Catholics, that a cathedral is where the bishop sits, because the word cathedral means chair, seat. So, where you have a cathedral, like the cathedral for Archbishop Gregory, inside the cathedral is his seat, his chair, his cathedra. That's right. It's called a cathedra in Greek, and in English we call it a cathedral. And so here we are outside the Cathedral of Notre Dame. Let's take a little peek. I'll show you the outside. Not overwhelming, but hey, what can you do? It's an old town dating back to the 1700s. Let's see if we can take a little peek inside. Maybe I'll show you where Saint Rose Philippine Duchesne came to pray on occasion. We'll take a peek inside as soon as I click on the beautiful bright blue dot. There we are, see? Not too fancy for a cathedral, but as long as God is there, the cathedral is the perfect place. Take a little spin around, show you that it is pretty simple. And we'll try and shoot up in front over here and see if we can see the separation over there for the choir. And over there on the left, you can see the cathedra right there. It's the bishop's seat, and that's why it's called a cathedral. Any case, she tried her best, but always wanted to go to the missions. Her family had lots of moolah. My daddy was rich, and mommy was rich, and they sent her to the best school to be educated like the rich. But she wanted to be a nun, and one day, against her parents' will, she asked her auntie to accompany her to the sisters' convent. And then guess what? She left her auntie at the door and said, "I'm joining this group. You go home and tell mommy and daddy that their daughter is now a nun." So eventually she was sent to the United States because they had great need of educators at that time. So they shipped her off to New Orleans. The trip took 7 weeks, can you believe it? From France to New Orleans, 7 weeks, mamma mia. When she got there, the bishop said, I'm sure you had a nice trip, but I don't really have any room for you. We have no provisions for you or your sisters. So what to do? Well, there wasn't too much to do. And they went to pray. Take a look at the church that you see over here. Very nice little place. Pretty narrow, which I'm going to sneak in over there and click in on the street and show you what it looks like. Whoop, look at that. Isn't that narrow? Wow, only for skinny people. Well, that's the way it works. So, in any case, Bishop said, I can't use you here in New Orleans, and you should go to Missouri. We have a place in Missouri, but let's take a look at the church in New Orleans first. You can see it today. It's the old-style confessionals, the angels with the holy water founts, and we go up in the front to see it's a beautiful place. A little bit dark by today's standards, but that's only because the photos were taken with the lights out. Pretty nice place. What do you think, huh? Not as bright as St. Philip Benizi, but what can you do? We have all those gorgeous windows to let in all the gorgeous sunlight that we have. So in any case, the sister is traveling 7 weeks. Bishop says, I'm sorry, I have no room for you. Why don't you go to Missouri? So guess what? They head off to Missouri, to a place called St. Charles. So off they go. They hop in there. No, it wasn't a plane. Probably had to go by horseback. I don't know if they had trains in those days. Maybe they did. In any case, you can see the distance between St. Charles, Missouri, here we are, and New Orleans. That's a pretty good romp, especially in those days. It'd be a good trip today, too, especially if you had to do it the day before Thanksgiving. In any case, that's where she ended up, and she spent the rest of her life there, working among the people, especially the indigenous people. You know, the United States government had a plan to eliminate all the Indians, and so she was working with them. She struggled to learn the language, never really made out too well with the language, but she prayed a lot. She was very sickly and almost blind at the end of her life, but she prayed all day long. As a matter of fact, there was a story about her that the kids would sneak up in back of her while she was kneeling in prayer and put a little feather on the back of her habit. And then they would return hours later, and guess what? The feather would be undisturbed. In other words, she was praying to the Lord and not even moving in all that land. Here's the school of St. Charles. That's a pretty good place. Looks like they have lots of moolah too with the artificial turf for their football field. So in any case, she lived there and died, and that's where she's buried, and she has a special tomb for her in the church. But it's time for us to go back home. So let's see if we can find an airport, because we're not going to have you taking a bus from St. Charles, Missouri. Well, there's one. All right. So here we go. Hop on the plane. Up and away. And we go back to Atlanta, Hartfield Jackson, home sweet home, just in time for the holidays. It's supposed to be a gigantic mess if you have to travel before Thanksgiving this year. Thank God we could do it virtually, so you don't have to waste any time. So here we are, back home. And we'll spin it around, show you our app. Do you know that Atlanta has 5 parallel runways? Watch the cursor, count them off. That's why it has so much traffic and is the busiest and biggest airport in the world. It really is gigantic. All right, so let's spin it around and go back south. That's where the home of our beloved St. Philip Benizi parish is. That's probably a little bit too far south. Let me click on the magic wand. And here we go. And swoosh. How do you like that? Well, you all have a very great Thanksgiving. Remember to say Thanksgiving in Greek is Eucharist. So when you say Happy Thanksgiving, you could also say Happy Eucharist. Huh?